Ware, winner of the St. Gallen's of Excellence Award 2017. First of all, congratulations. So how do you feel? If there would be one emotion describing your current situation best, what would it be?
I love this symposium, and I've really enjoyed meeting the other finalists, hearing their ideas, as well as meeting other people. So it is a great honor. It's also just been fantastic hearing so many different ideas from so many creative people, and it's exciting to know that many of those people want to take their idea forward and make it happen.
So your idea aims to efficiently provide high-quality basic services by creating a partnership between government and private investors. So how does this agreement differ from social impact bonds?
Sure, there's 5 major differences from social impact bonds that I can go into a lot of depth about that. But essentially it tries to overcome a lot of the challenges that we've seen with other forms of public-private partnerships. One of the main constraints on governments at the moment is that politically it is quite difficult for them to spend taxpayer money in large quantities on refugees, and then economically it is quite difficult for them to spend in the short term when the financial return from those investments only comes well into the future. So one of the key things about my innovation, Tradable Income-Based Securities, is that it reverses the order of the financial flows, so that governments actually receive money up front and they only pass on in the future what they otherwise would not have had. There's a number of other differences, but that's a key difference, which is a stronger value proposition to governments, and I think it also provides a stronger value proposition to investors as well, who are able to profit in the short term with uncapped upside.
So you're writing in this context about the ideal mixture of social and financial value creation. So do you think people are nowadays more willing to invest into the society?
I think that we've seen a big transition in the way that people view social returns. Previously, people assumed that there had to be a trade-off between social returns and financial returns. One of the big trends or transitions we've seen is now people are realizing that they can be aligned. You can achieve both at the same time with no trade-off. And actually, we should look for ways to align those two things. And so that was one of the core principles that was sort of underlying the logic of my entry or my essay, was how can we sort of align social and financial returns so that investors are incentivized to achieve social outcomes because the actions that increase social impact are also the actions that increase profit.
That all sounds pretty promising, but what are the main risks you would deal with?
Whenever you're sort of working with multiple stakeholders, it is challenging, it is difficult. And it is one of the challenges that I've faced is how can we align all those incentives? So going forward, the key challenge will be to facilitate the interaction between those different stakeholders. I think the value proposition to all the stakeholders is quite strong, but how you sort of bring them together is going to be a challenge. Another key challenge is obviously with any new disruptive idea, there is always inherent risk, or at least the perception of risk when things are getting started. And so it is sort of about getting runs on the board, proving in a pilot project the scheme in practice, and then trying to make it more widespread. And I do think this has potential to be a default way to finance services to disadvantaged populations, whether it's refugees or indigenous populations, or the millions of people who will become unemployed and need retraining as a result of automation, artificial intelligence, deindustrialization, and so on.
Definitely has potential, but why didn't anybody come up with this idea any earlier?
So there are certainly variations, but I think a key reason is often people try to develop one stakeholder solutions, and that's sort of the default approach in many cases. And so I think we need to move away from that. I think often the solutions that are necessary require the interaction of multiple stakeholders. And yes, that is more difficult to do. It is a challenge, but I think that is the way forward.
And what are your next steps going to be to realize it?
Certainly. I've already enjoyed over the past 2 days talking with various representatives from the public sector, from the private sector, who are very excited and enthusiastic about this idea. And so this is something that I want to roll out, particularly for refugees and indigenous communities. And so I'll be in discussions with various investors and governments, both across Europe, as well as in Australia and Canada and New Zealand, because I think those are some of the places where this idea could start, but I certainly want it to spread and become broader from there.
Then best of luck to you, and thank you very much for your time.
No worries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.